Appreciate the opportunity to come speak here, and glad we have such beautiful weather. I was looking and I said, when you're in the late evening session, which is what this is called, I said, well, I'll be lucky to have 10 people here. So I got a few more than 10. So I look forward to talking to you today about our new business platform, Smithfield Renewables. I think as they were describing my past, where I've been with Smithfield or its family of companies for 26 years. Most recently, I was vice president for our hog operations, swine operations, hog production division in the U.S. and responsible for operations in Mexico. And our CEO, when we made our carbon reduction goal announcement, he asked me would I head up Smithfield Renewables, a new business platform for those type projects. So I said, certainly I will. I think Smithfield has a long history of sustainability. If you look back, we were one of the first companies to start having a public sustainability report to our shareholders years and years ago. And in our hog production division, my experience has been through the work of our ISO certified environmental management system and all. Like most producers, we focused on compliance for years. And we said, hey, if we can get a high level of compliance, that's going to be enough. And what we found out is, over time, the expectation of the consumer, the expectation of our customers, the expectation of the public is that we run a compliant operation. They want to know, what else are you doing? And so we started talking about sustainability. At Smithfield, our sustainability programs, really we use these for two reasons. Number one is to differentiate our product and our brand from our competitors. There's a lot of great things that go on in our industry, and we're blessed to have producer organizations like MPPC and MPB. I'm on the MPPC board, head up the environmental committee, and I'm just so proud of our industry. But individually, our companies also have to look at ways to differentiate our product to consumers. The second thing is to make us more efficient and more competitive. Believe it or not, you can have sustainability programs that increase the value to your shareholders, increase the value to your investors. And that's really what we try to focus on. Our newest initiative that I'll talk about today is our 25% by 2025 carbon reduction goal. We were the first back in late 2016 in the protein business that we know of in the U.S. to make that formal goal and announcement. And it's a very big goal. But it's something that we absolutely think we can achieve, and I'll talk about how. So our goal simply is to reduce our carbon emissions, our greenhouse gas emissions, 25% by the year 2025 based on a 2010 baseline. To do that, and really go back in time, how did we make that decision 25% by 2025? We had relationships with organizations like Environmental Defense Fund and others. We were talking to all of our customers about, their expectations. And I looked and said, well, how do we even know what our carbon emissions are? We've done a great job through National Pork Board at kind of outlining the industry carbon footprint. But how about Smithfield? How do we know? Actually, I'm here in Minneapolis today, and I'll be at the University of Minnesota tomorrow working with the folks there that helped us with our original baseline of our 2010 GHG goal. And that group at the School of Environment or University of Minnesota, they have a lot of good models to help you through that process, particularly on the grain side and feed side of our business. So we worked with them to come up with what our baseline was. And in a nutshell, we have to focus on four main areas to make sure we achieve our carbon reduction goal. And I'm going to talk about each one of these. Manure management. Our grain supply chain as a company, all the grain that we use to feed our animals, our processing, whether that's electricity use, whether that's logistics, diesel fuel use, whatever those things are. And then I want to talk a little bit about production efficiency and how that impacts carbon footprint. Just to kind of get us started, I've got a short video here I'd like to show you, and then we'll get on with it.
At Smithfield Foods, we're dedicated to producing good food responsibly. As a global food company, we're committed to doing business in a sustainable way throughout our entire supply chain. That's one of the reasons why we were the first major protein company to set an ambitious goal to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions across our entire supply chain 25% by 2025. To reach that goal, we created a new platform called Smithfield Renewables.
Smithfield Renewables is really the platform that we use to ensure that we make our carbon reduction goal. As part of that, you'll have biogas projects, you'll have fertilizer optimization, grain supply chain projects. You'll have a lot of different things that come together.
We're partnering with local contract farmers and leaders in the bioenergy field for a groundbreaking project underway in North Carolina. Together, we're converting manure from the hog farms into renewable natural gas.
The way we do that is we capture the manure in the buildings, in the underfloor of the buildings, and then that manure is flushed or transferred to an anaerobic digester or a covered lagoon where anaerobic digestion takes place and solids are broken down. Once those solids are broken down, it releases methane gas. That is captured in the digester or covered lagoon, and then that gas is then moved from there and transported to a central processing facility to be converted into renewable natural gas that can be used by our community.
This renewable source is expected to produce enough energy annually to power about 1,000 homes for an entire year.
This is the first time that we in the state of North Carolina have been able to put natural gas from any source into the pipeline and serve the customers in North Carolina.
We really like this model because it allows farmers to be involved, even smaller farmers to be involved in renewable natural gas production. And we feel like this is the most economical way to provide renewable natural gas to customers.
John Kilpatrick is a contract farmer for Smithfield Foods. He's been operating his North Carolina farm for 40 years. Participating in the project makes both environmental and economic sense for farmers like John.
The benefits would be the economics, selling the methane, the gas, which would normally be a waste product, and why not capture it, use it, make a benefit from it. It's just a matter of putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
And at Smithfield Foods, we're putting those pieces together to form a seamless, sustainable supply chain from farm to table. Our Manure to Energy program is a part of that bigger picture.
Smithfield has long been a leader in the area of sustainability and innovation in our industry. These type of projects just further allow us to explore opportunities beyond what we've already done.
Learn more about Smithfield Renewables and about our other sustainable practices at smithfieldfoods.com/renewables.
So that's kind of talks about one specific project in North Carolina, but when you look at our overall carbon footprint, I talked about those key areas: manure management, grain farming, grain itself, grain production, feed milling, consumers, and the retail side, and then other non-grade feed, other areas. And that's what really makes up our carbon footprint as a company in a simplified form. So when you think about manure management, it's 40 to 45% of Smithfield's greenhouse gas footprint. Now, we would be a little bit, that would be a little higher percentage than, say, somebody that was only based in the Midwest. Obviously, we have farms in the Midwest that are more slurry-based system. We have a higher percentage of anaerobic lagoons, so we would have a little bit higher percentage of our carbon footprint related to manure management, but it's not a huge jump. It would be the difference from, say, being 35% to 40 to 45%. How do we deal with that? The video really showed what our approach is. And our approach is to convert, capture methane, and turn it into renewable energy. Now we've been trying that for years. We were talking earlier today about a project down in Utah that we tried 25 years, and we lost $20 million. Several people got fired, right? Yeah, that wasn't real popular. I wasn't involved in that one. That's why I'm still here. But at the end of the day, we are taking a little bit different approach. We're saying instead of producing electricity, you can do that, but we think producing renewable natural gas gives you multiple markets for that gas, whether it's for the transportation market out in California, whether it's for a rec market, for a renewable energy portfolio standard, for instance, in North Carolina has a very aggressive one. You can take renewable natural gas and you sell it to multiple markets. When you sell it to multiple markets, then it has more value. It's also a lot easier on a farm to clean biogas and make it renewable natural gas than to take biogas and make it into electricity. So there's a number of different reasons we're taking that approach. But in the end, it's taking those emissions from our manure management activities and turning it into renewable energy. Huge part of our program here. We have some of the largest, there it goes. Some of the largest manure energy projects in the world are at our farms. If you go to northern Missouri today, We're producing renewable natural gas from large finishing farms in northern Missouri. It's being cleaned in renewable natural gas, and it's being put into the pipeline. Where it's not being put directly into the pipeline, we're cleaning it, putting in tube trailers, hauling it to an insertion point and putting it in the pipeline. If you go to Utah, it would be the same way. We're building a large wean-to-finish operation there, and for the first time in Smithfield's history, we're building digesters instead of lagoons from the beginning. That's about 250,000 head of new wean-to-finish space out there in the desert of Utah. Today, if you go there, what you're going to see is we have digesters collecting gas. That gas is going into the California market in the form of renewable natural gas. Okay? And then we've talked about our project in North Carolina, the pilot project that was in the video. That's really the way we're going to move forward there. We've made a public announcement that we'd like 90% of our finishing spaces in North Carolina, Virginia, Missouri, and Utah to be using manure-to-energy projects or be involved in manure-to-energy projects over the next 10 years. Notice I didn't say Iowa. Iowa's system is a lot colder. It's a lot more difficult to make renewable energy in these colder climates. Another part of this on the manure management side is transforming manure into sustainable fertilizer, something you guys do a great job of here in the Midwest. I'm talking more specifically about areas where anaerobic lagoons are utilized, and we have a sludge material in the bottom of those that accumulates over time. What do we do with that more dense nutrient load there? Working with a company called Anuvia and a product they have called Simtrex. They're buying that material and making it into a 16% organic commercial-grade fertilizer. Very neat project. What we've seen through all their data is when they do that, and this product is just like it's a competitor of ammonium sulfate. It could have multiple different fertilizer ratios, but typically it would be a 20, 12O, 12S fertilizer, typically. And it would have 16% organics. Very good project. What we've seen through all their data is very consistent increase in crop yields for farmers that use this product in the place of ammonium sulfate, and it helps the farmers improve their bottom line. As we move through this, you'll see that, moving to the next part of our grains of our carbon footprint, which is our grain supply chain and milling, it's another significant part of our carbon footprint. How do we deal with that? The vast majority of that's not controlled by Smithfield. I have been successful at retaining our farming operations on the East Coast because I enjoy farming. I grew up on a farm. I love that part of my job, and they haven't taken it away from me yet. We grow about 12,000 acres of grain. Not nearly enough. The vast majority of the grain that we use is grown by independent farmers, not controlled by us. So how do we have an impact on that? Back in 2013, Walmart asked us, they said, Smithfield, have you ever looked at your grain supply chain? We said, no, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? They said, where your grain comes from. No, we really haven't. At that point, we started seeing that was becoming more important to our customers. They were really looking at it from a fertilizer efficiency and soil health standpoint. And we worked with the Environmental Defense Fund and came up with a goal then that 75% of our grain sourcing acres would be engaged in soil health and fertilizer efficiency programs over the next 5 years. That was equivalent at the time of around 450,000 acres of grain. So we collaborated with the Environmental Defense Fund. I know that's scary for some people, but we have a very good relationship with them. We don't agree with them on everything. They don't agree with us on everything. But we agree to disagree on the things we don't agree on, and we choose to work with each other on the things we do agree on. This was one of them. We aligned Smithfield's local grain procurement efforts. We had a very robust, and I see, we really engage local farmers. We want your grain. No matter where our milling location was, we wanted to buy more local grain. We had that going on for several years. We layered on agronomic services. We hired agronomists. We put them out in the field to not only talk to farmers about price and delivery options, but also provide agronomic services. The goal was to improve the farmers' productivity, profitability, and sustainability, working in conjunction with them. Not only on price and delivery options, but also on fertilizer efficiency. And at the end of the day, if a farmer can become more efficient growing grain and therefore improve his bottom line, we think we win as well. Some of the practices we talked to them about: commercial fertilizer use optimization. That could be a lot of different things. Cover crops, obviously, is something that everybody likes to talk about. A lot of places it's easier to do cover crops than it is here in Iowa and other places, but we did talk a lot about cover crops and have a lot of cover crop programs, and then conservation tillage. In 2018, we announced that we exceeded our goal. We actually engaged 80% of our grain supply chain, somewhere around 560,000 acres of grain. And we were very pleased to hit that goal. We talk about this other. What is in this other? You got non-grain feed production. You got our harvest facilities, processing, transportation. But in all, when you look at our processing operations, they're only about 10% of our carbon footprint. Now, there's several things we're actually really focused on there. One is reducing solid waste to landfills by 75%. And certifying 75% of U.S. facilities zero waste to landfill by the year 2025. That's a big goal. We're over halfway there through some really neat initiatives from our processing side. Implementing energy efficiency initiatives in refrigeration and boiler operation and other equipment, all of which makes sense because energy efficiency generally has a payback. And so prioritizing those things, we're able to get payback with this as well. We have to continue to be aggressive in these areas, but once again, if we improve that by 10%, we're improving 10% of 10%. So understand what the impact can be. The other areas we have to make sure we're aggressive as well. Renewable electricity. We recently announced that we entered a VPPA, a virtual power purchase agreement, for a large wind farm that's being built in Oklahoma. We're buying a portion of that along with Starbucks and Walmart, I think. But that's the way we choose to do renewable, through VPPAs. VPPAs allow you to go to an area where you have the best basis on renewable energy price, lock that in for 10 years, and create yourself a hedge on what your electricity costs are going to be. That wind farm, we bought about 75 megawatts of capacity, which is about 18% of our overall electricity use on all our company-owned facilities, farms, etc. And we're looking to possibly do more. We've also got some small solar projects going on in Arizona and California, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying is we're involved in this space where it makes sense and where it creates value to us as a company. Now I want to talk about an area that's not talked about enough, because we don't take credit for the things that we're doing. It's what this conference is all about. How do we become more efficient in growing animals? Production efficiency, when you overlay it over your entire carbon footprint, there's a huge impact of increased efficiency on your carbon footprint. Generating any product with fewer inputs means we lower our carbon footprint. Now, nobody can argue that point. Production efficiencies can occur anywhere in our system, but I'll talk a little bit about what you guys know in animal production. So let's look at production efficiency over time. This is a measurement of feed conversion, which you guys know is pound of feed per pound of animal weight gain. This is a graph from 2009 to 2018. And what you see is there's a very linear improvement of that over time for a lot of different reasons. A lot of different reasons. Many of those reasons is what you guys work on every day. This is all review for you, but in summary, feed conversion in our company has improved by 5% or greater over that time period. And I think when I look at across the industry, many folks might have done better. What does that mean? A reduction in feed conversion provides a linear reduction in both our manure and our feed grain contributions to our carbon footprint when you think about it. We're doing more with less. It's a great story, a story we don't tell enough. We allow folks on the other side that like to be critical of our business to talk about ways that we might become less efficient as a business and have to choose between maybe some improvement up from an animal welfare standpoint versus a something to make our air, water, land carbon footprint worse. I think we got to do a better job telling that story. Other efficiency gains, you guys could list them probably as good or better than me. Sow productivity. When we have more pigs with less sows, we reduce our carbon footprint. When we have a more lean animal with less waste at the end, we're using more of that animal, more lean animal meat, it improves our carbon footprint. We improve grain yields. When we're dealing with farmers, we reduce our carbon footprint. There's other opportunities as well in a processing side that we've identified and otherwise. But the long story short is becoming more efficient helps you with your carbon footprint. When you look at the LCA that was done by National Pork Board, that's exactly what you see. Over time, our industry's carbon footprint, water footprint, land footprint have been reduced dramatically because of a lot of the things you guys do every day. We've got to do a better job telling that story.